What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Devin the Bear, here to discuss an incredible card, which was UFC 273, Volkanovski versus Korean Zombie. But before we get to what y'all are really here for, we do want to touch up on some preliminary fights, some fighters that just showed nothing but great heart, and it's really set up for the great main card as well. We had Mike Malone get a TKO victory over Mickey Gall in the first round. I mean, what you can't have a debut better than that, you know.
Yeah.
And then we also had Raquel Pennington have a great back and forth fight against Aspen Ladd, which shows how much she's improving, even though she's been around for so long. But how tough she is. She broke her hand in that fight and still kept going, and even cornered her girlfriend later on in that fight, Tisha Torres, later on in the card, which was just, I mean, nothing short of spectacular to watch, you know. And then we had Anthony Hernandez get a very fun, dominant win over Josh Fremd.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was a very fun fight. Like you said too, it was a kind of a tough test for Anthony as well.
It was a
And
little tougher than I think anybody expected it to be.
yeah,
But he's coming off a long layoff, so
yeah.
it was nice to see him go out there and get a win.
I mean, he kept that same pace the whole fight too, so it's always impressive to see something like that. And for the preliminary headliner was Ian Gary, showing that he's more than just a quick finisher. He is also a very durable fighter that can go all three rounds. He got a very tough fight with a hard-earned win over Darian Weeks. So, yeah, man, with all these guys on the preliminary cards, that's why we say watch these cards, you know, check them out. We'll always watch the preliminary fights because sometimes these preliminary fights are better than the main card. Not in this case, though.
Which is crazy because those fights were very good fights.
Yep.
But every fight just got better and better and better. So yeah, that'll bring us to what was possibly one of the best performance, if not the best performance of the whole night. Alexander Volkanovski defeats Chan Sung Jung with TKO in the fourth round.
Yes, sir.
Herb Dean stopped it. Just a clinic by Volk. Chan Sung Jung had no answers, which is kind of sad to see from the Korean Zombie. I think everybody likes and respects him a lot, but we're just really, really seeing that Volkanovski is on another level than everyone in his division. And every time he steps in there with someone, they have no answer for him. And I think he sets everything up with this stand-up and then has surprisingly good wrestling that people aren't ready for, or at least anti-wrestling.
Yeah, it was just an incredible performance by Alexander Volkanovski. And I think I had said to you last night, watching Volkanovski just pick him apart the way that he did, just it made me feel like that we're seeing Chen Sung Jung leave his prime pretty much. But it's also kind of hard to say that because Volkanovski's just, I think, in my opinion, and I said this before his recency bias, but now I really do feel that he is the greatest featherweight champion. He has wins over Jose Aldo, 2 over Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Chad Mendez, and now over Chen Sung Jung. And I think he's just going to keep adding to the list of things that he's going to do. He's recently said he'd like to fight Conor McGregor, which I think that fight makes sense in the sense of he wants to beat all the previous featherweight champions, and they all happen to still be active. And I don't know, man. I mean, I think it'd be a fun fight. He's talking about going up. I don't know if that's probably the best idea for him, but then again, I mean, he's looking so good against all these guys that it's like, what else do you do? And you pointed this out, and I think the standard that you hold champions is correct. You know, I agree with it. Is that just cleaning out the division? Don't look into jumping up or down. You know, finish out what you're starting, and that's kind of what, you know, going back to GSP, the callback to him. That's exactly what he did. He didn't move up to 185 until way later in his career. There had already been multiple champions since he had retired, and so, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what Volkanovski's capable of doing is cleaning out the division once and even twice if he were to be active enough, and then move up, because we see that so much now is that guys get the belt and then move up. We saw it with Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Anytime he stepped in the cage, it was a different weight division just
Right.
about. But you see it a lot, and I think guys like Kamaru Usman and even Israel Adesanya, who stay in their weight class, they don't even really bother moving around. He went up to light heavyweight, but I think that was more of just a test.
Right.
See how he felt there, and didn't go well. But what Volkanovski can do is so right now you listed some of the people he beat, which is Chan Sung Jung, a legend, Chad Mendez, a legend, Max Holloway, a legend who's still in his prime,
Right.
Brian Ortega, who's got the makings of a legend if he stays in there long enough. If he can stay in the top 5,
Right.
But I think he's beating all the names that we're very familiar with, that we're used to seeing in the top ranks of the featherweight division. But what I think he needs to do now is stick around and let those guys kind of filter in and out, and end up fighting the new threats at 145, because we know that it's pretty stacked with the young talent. They just aren't there yet. So if he sticks around and cleans out the division and then moves up, the legacy is cemented, and he's as good as we always said he was.
Yeah, and I think a couple of the names that, to mention, these up and comers, or not really up and comers, but top prospects that will eventually be in the top 5 are guys like Calvin Kattar. I believe he's ranked number 5. He hasn't fought for the title yet. You see, you got Chikadze, even though he's coming off a loss to Calvin Kattar. That would be a fun fight, though. I mean, that would be very back and forth, and I would really like to see it. But I think Volkanovski's pace is going to really mess with Giga's cardio, because we saw that he didn't do well with punishment. Bryce Mitchell's on the come up. Arnold Allen's on the come up. I mean, there's 4 names right there that are different new contenders that I think eventually we'll see them start to get the spotlight that they should. Calvin Kattar's last performance was a title shot worthy fight. I think he did a great job, went in there and shut down Giga in every aspect of the fight. He's coming off a very tough loss to Max Holloway, but I mean, dude, like, losing to Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, it's so hard because it's like they're just such top tier guys. They're so much more above their weight class, So I know that Henry Cejudo's calling him out again and stuff like that. I really don't care to see that fight, to be honest with you. I'm not interested in it, but I mean, if it's gonna be another notch on the belt for Alexander Volkanovski, then hey, I'd be more than happy to watch it, because a lot of these other guys, I mean, this is the other issue too, is like, a lot of these guys take a lot of time off in between fights. They don't want quick turnarounds, and it's hard because it's like, if you want to be champion, you got to have that quick turnaround, but you're also at that level where you need that rest. You need to recover well.
I mean, GSP fought like 2 times a year at most.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes at that level, you have to use your time a bit more wisely.
Right.
You have to really be prepared for every fight. I think Volkanovski's kind of concept of a game plan is, I'm going to go in there and do what I do best, because I'm confident in my skills and my capabilities, that no matter where it goes, I'll be all right. So I could see him being a bit more active than like GSP was.
Right.
Just because he is very confident in what he can do.
Right.
So I think if he were to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to get in the gym, take a fight, and start training again, because I don't need to be such a cerebral assassin with everything I do, because I go in there and people just can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, he puts it on people, man, and I'm excited to see more of it. So on to the co-main event, we had Aljamain Sterling defend his title that he actually, I would say, he earned now. He has the right to be the bantamweight champion now.
We can all be Aljamain Sterling fans again.
Yeah, and not feel like a piece of shit and have to keep it quiet. It's like being a fan of Nickelback.
The
like,
guilty pleasure.
And so it's really cool though to see Aljamain really cement that he is the champion. He came back after he had a disc replaced in his neck. He's dealt with the pretty much I can't think of the word, but pretty much like a bunch of shit from media, from fans, people calling him paper champ. He's not the real champ and stuff like that. And he's got that win over the guy that disqualified himself in that fight. And I'm a big Petr Yan fan, but it was it's a very back and forth fight. There's a lot of people saying that Petr should have won that fight, but the thing about that is, I think just a lot of people are still upset that Aljamain's still champion.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes exactly from that.
Yeah.
But what you have to understand is, Aljamain is a very smart fighter. He's very capable. That's why he's there. He wouldn't get the title shot if he didn't have such a long winning streak.
Right.
The guy goes in there and he beats people, and he uses his wrestling to do it, and that's exactly how he beat Yan.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's exactly as good as he says he is. We just didn't want to believe it because what happened in that last fight. But now this should erase that from everybody's mind. We should treat this as if this is the fight that we got the first time.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not, and people aren't going to let that go.
No, they're not. And the thing about that too is, man, is just so I think it's fair to say that it was 2-2 going into the 5th round. But it's hard to say who got that first round. That's where it's the definitive factor of who really won that fight. And whenever you're a slower starter like Petr Yan, because he really likes to fill his opponents out, and it's smart that he does it because he's usually in 5-round fights, but it's hard to win the first round. He's willing to give up that round to figure out and read his opponent. And I think that's where the problem lies, is in that, I think if he would have won that first round, or definitively won that first round, then we would have saw a new champion.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I personally had it 3-2, 3 for Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that he was landing his body kicks in the first round, I think, was kind of controlling the pace. Even though he was the one moving backwards, he was the one getting off the cleaner and more significant strikes. So I do believe that Sterling won that fight. Don't at me.
So at Devin the Bear. But yeah, no, it was.
At us, please.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, please, some interaction. No, but what's it called? So one of the things I really wanted to touch up on, though, is what do we do with the bantamweight division now? It's something that a lot of fighters are waiting to see what's going on. You have Jose Aldo waiting around. You have T.J. Dillashaw, Corey Sandhagen still in the mix. You can't forget about Corey Sandhagen, because he's dominated the whole division except for the champion and the former interim champion. And so with that, I mean, you still have Rob Font, even though people think of Rob Font's just kind of a very stiff boxer. I really like Rob Font. And so he's a great fighter. He's got hands, dude. And you see, he showed a lot of diversity in his fight with Cody Garbrandt as well. They went to the ground and he was attacking with Kimura right as soon as he got taken down. But it's just really like, where do we go? Who gets the title shot next? In my opinion, I feel like Jose Aldo should get the title shot next. I think that's who makes the most sense. I know T.J. Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen fought for the title eliminator, but since that fight, Corey Sandhagen's fought since then. We've seen the rematch between Petorian and Aljamain get set and already happened. And with T.J. Dillashaw, like, just he injured his leg in the Corey Sandhagen fight, so he was on the shelf for a little bit. And so I don't think he should get it next. Also, he's just a fucking cheater, so I don't think he should get it. But I mean,
say it for those in the back.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so, what'd you call him? T.J. Dillashaw.
Dillashaw, yeah.
That was creative. I liked it.
Someone else said it, wasn't it? It was actually Aljamain Sterling when he called him out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't come up with that.
Oh man, so shout out to Aljamain for that. Please don't unfollow us for me saying that. And so, but it was a good fight, man. But I mean, with that, it's like, what do you do next? And he's called out T.J. Dillashaw, and I'm sure Dana White had openly said that he thought that Petorian won the fight, and so I think that they're gonna try to make a third, which sucks because that puts a very stacked division on hold for even longer. I mean, you look at the top 15 in the bantamweight division, and you just see nothing but prospect after prospect or future champions.
Dana did say that he doesn't want to do the trilogy fight with Sterling and Jan.
He doesn't want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I'll come up with this one. He did say that Cheat Day Dillashaw. Was that, you like that?
Nice.
Cheat Day?
Yeah.
TJ? Huh. He did say that he kind of wants to do that fight. He thinks that's the fight to make.
Yeah.
TJ Dillashaw against Aljamain Sterling for the title. And, I mean, I get it. I understand it. I think... is he above Jose Aldo for the title shot? Maybe. But to me, there's one way to know for sure, and that's to have TJ Dillashaw and Jose Aldo fight as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I really mean as soon as possible. You have those guys come in there as soon as possible, and then immediately let everyone know, hey, the winner is going to get Sterling.
What's scary about this, though, or not scary, I would say, but what's funny about that whole situation about Aldo versus Dillashaw is that I bet you on 2 months' notice, Aldo would take that fight, but TJ wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. TJ's a smart guy. His whole career, from his start on The Ultimate Fighter to now, everything's based on making the right move.
Yeah.
So I think if you give him 3 months, he'll take it.
Yeah.
2 months, you're starting to kind of...
The cycle might pop up, you know? And so something might pop up and we don't need that. But no, it's in all seriousness, though. But I don't think he really takes that fight, and that's a very tough fight to take. But... because I don't want to see Aljamain have to wait around for the next contender. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, but if you have TJ and Jose fight and then automatically say, hey, the winner's getting Aljamain, then by the end of the year you can have the Aljamain and the winner.
I just want to see him fight and fall. That's the thing, you know. It is what it is. I understand that, but it's also just a downside of, you know, we've seen him have that title for a while until he defended it. So I mean, granted, he won the title based off of a disqualification, but he made his first title defense with a decision. So this one went the distance, and he got the upside to it. I am a much bigger fan of Pator, but I think the right call was Aljamain at the end of the day, and that's just because aggression is still a thing that happens in round winning. And so whenever Pator's sitting back making his reads and stuff like that, I mean, whoever is pushing the pace a little more is going to win that round.
And it is possible to push the pace while being on your back foot and moving backwards.
Yeah. So on to the real fight of the night. I mean, this fight, dude, was nonstop, and I love this fight. I wish these guys would fight again, honestly.
Yeah.
Is Khamzat Chimaev defeating Gilbert Burns by a decision. I mean, dude, this fight was insane.
Yeah.
Is exactly what we expected. I think it answered a lot of questions for a lot of us. I think Gilbert Burns left with the respect that he deserves. I think Khamzat his hand got shown, and it was shown that he's human. I mean, he is still a monster, don't get me wrong, but it's also showing that he's not necessarily this big top contender that we all thought he was going to be. And which he did just beat number 2, so maybe
I was
that doesn't
now that he's won that fight, though, he is that top contender that he's not ready to be.
Yeah.
I think. I've said it before. I don't think people should be pushed super hard just for the sake of, well, they're popular, they're getting a lot of hype behind them. Yeah, but you got to let them build themselves. Clearly, from the fight against Gilbert, we saw that Khamzat's just not built up enough to fight someone like Kamaru.
Right.
And that's realistically, that's who he's going to have to fight next.
Yeah. And whoa, dude, come on, Leon Edwards. Come on.
They're already talking about leapfrogging him, so leapfrogging my boy Leon.
Well, Dana said he
disrespecting him left and right.
Dana said he wants to make Khamzat versus Colby next. That's
Colby?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that's a good fight for Colby Covington.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. Does Colby take that?
No, he doesn't, because he could have taken it, and he didn't take it. And that's why he fought Jorge Masvidal. And they've been trying to give him the Khamzat fight since before the Jorge Masvidal fight.
Khamzat and Colby on The Ultimate Fighter.
We would hear...
They've already announced The Ultimate Fighter, actually, the next one.
I thought it was Amanda or the new season. Another season, you mean?
Yeah. They announced when that one's going to air, so
okay.
I don't know what they're going to do with
the following one.
Next
I see what you're saying. They're renewing another season.
Yeah,
okay, I got you. And so,
but anyway, Khamzat went out there and he gave Gilbert his best shots, and Gilbert went out there and gave Khamzat his best shots.
Right.
Both got dropped. Both had busted up faces by the end of it. It was really hard to pick who won that fight. I think I was pretty happy either way. I was like, you know what, if Gilbert won, I think he won just as much as Khamzat won that fight.
Imagine if they would announce a draw.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been like...
I was like, I'd be like, okay. It was a great fight. Both guys were in it 100%, 100% of the time.
Because going into that third round, it was who wants it more.
Yeah.
And I think that's what... man, I really like Gilbert Burns. He is such a cool dude, and I'm really happy that people are found. He's just really getting the respect. He had to go in there and fight Khamzat Chimaev for him to actually get acknowledged as he's a fucking BMF, dude. He really is.
Well, okay, so you say that Gilbert Burns is a cool guy.
Yeah.
Then let's address the elephant in the room,
God, man,
which is Gilbert Burns throwing an illegal soccer kick attempt at Khamzat.
I think it landed.
I don't think it landed. I think he missed. Like, he just barely came across and went past him.
Yeah.
But he did throw it, and it was very obvious. And I think the commentary team mentioned it. And what I think happened is they were told, "Hey, do not bring that up again," because then they didn't bring it up again.
Yeah. Don't forget the elbows.
But yeah, immediately after the kick was thrown and missed, Khamzat goes for a takedown or clinches up, and then Gilbert starts throwing 12-6 elbows, which we all know are illegal. There were at least 3 of them. At least 3.
Right to the back of the head.
Right to the back of the head. And if they weren't 12-6 elbows, they're to the back of the head. So there's really no win there. Cool guy, Gilbert Burns? I don't know. He's a cool guy. He's just a dirty fighter.
He's a very dirty fighter. And what's it called? That's the thing, too, is when he fought Stephen Thompson, there's a lot of punches to the back of the head that were not being called. And I remember in between the second and third round, there was a big scuffle between Khamzat and Gilbert, because he actually got Gilbert down after all that. And then he slapped him in between the second and third round.
Well, because Gilbert started pushing Khamzat off of him, and then Khamzat reached over and slapped him.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Oh, it was funny though. It was the fight pretty much continued after the fight. It's because Khamzat just kept slapping the shit out of him.
patting his head, like, very aggressively, shoving his head.
Yeah.
I'm like, you realize you just put a beating on that man.
Yeah.
You're not making it any better.
If anything, he's probably still a little mad that the fight can't go on because he's like, I didn't get to knock this guy the fuck out. Because that's where, and I really appreciate his coaches for doing this too. Is they were on his ass because he abandoned the game plan. He got very punch hungry and he wanted the knockout. And he openly had said that he wanted the knockout, and that's why he abandoned the game plan. And I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you live and you learn, and I think we're only gonna see the best, like much better out of those two guys.
Absolutely.
I think Gilbert definitely wants some fans, and I think he deserves it. He's been around for a long time. He's fought for the welterweight title against the pound for pound best fighter in the world right now, which is not an easy feat, you know. And he just fought Hamza Chimaev, and he took on a guy that nobody else wanted to fight. You know, he was number 2, took on number 11. Nobody else wanted to do that. Nobody else was willing to give Hamzat that chance to jump the rankings that high. And so, yeah, man. I mean, it was an all-around good fight. I was happy with it.
What were your thoughts on the illegal strikes that were thrown by Gilbert? Did you catch them? If you did, you think a bigger deal should have been made of them?
Yeah.
I kind of do. Just anytime there's illegal strikes.
They should be made a bigger deal.
You get called out for it.
Yeah.
We just called out TJ Dillashaw for taking steroids. What's the difference? Cheating's cheating.
Did you know that he popped for the Cody Garbrandt fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't know that.
Oh.
Like,
that's when like he started getting exposed, right?
It was after he already been exposed. After his like suspension is whenever it came out that he failed a drug test for the Cody Garbrandt fight, the second fight.
But he was suspended for it, right?
He was suspended for the Henry Cejudo fight. Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy to know that he was really doing steroids and Cody Garbrandt was right. And but yeah, man, let us know what your thoughts on the illegal shots. And if you try to find anybody that's talking about it, you can't, because we've looked everywhere for it. They're not even being talked about in the comment section on their Instagram, on their Facebook, nothing. So on to another really fun women's strawweight fight. We had Mackenzie Dern defeat Tisha Torres by decision, and dude, this fight was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely showed that the strawweight division, the women's strawweight division, has a lot of life to it, and you just have to be able to tune in. You know, Tisha Torres got the better in the first round, but that flying Kimura that Mackenzie attempted, dude, was deep. Even though Tisha didn't even fall with it, was super freaking deep in that second round. And
if you have a name for what she was doing, let us know, because we were when it happened, we were trying to figure out like what would you call that.
Yeah, I just kept calling it a flying armbar. I mean, flying Kimura.
I think it fits. Like she eventually went for the Kimura, but she was trying to like pull guard. Yeah, and she held on to that for like what, 2 minutes?
And almost got it while she was standing. Yeah, like how impressive is that?
And it's also equally impressive that Tisha Torres is able to do what most people aren't able to do, and that's to stop Mackenzie Dern from submitting them.
Yeah, and then when we were watching the fight, though, is as soon as she gets out of it, she goes right back into Mackenzie Dern's guard. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, don't go to the ground. You're winning the exchanges on the feet. You were, and then it's like I didn't understand why, but I think she wanted to prove to her that she couldn't submit her because they were going back and forth about it at the pre-fight press conference. And she almost got tapped out again. Yeah. And so it was like, yeah, no, that wasn't smart at all. But hey, it is what it is, though.
I feel like Tisha Torres won that fight.
I do
she
too.
Won the one in the first and the third. It was a great fight. I think it wasn't quite as close as Gilbert and Hamzat. So I feel like that's one that should be a little disputed or talked about, but it's not. Everyone's talking about the Jan Sterling and the Burns and Chimaev fight, but
it's definitely a card I'm going to go back and watch probably tonight just to kind of go back over and get final thoughts on it. But also we had Mark Madsen defeat Vince Pichel by decision, and that was a fun fight too to open up the main card. I really enjoyed that fight.
Vince Pichel walked away pissed off. Yeah. Cursing and screaming because he was held down for the last 4 minutes of that fight. Yeah. And I mean, it sucks because y'all are there to fight. You're there to fight. He's there to win, even if it's by means of not fighting. Right. So I understand the frustration, but you're there to fight too. You have to get back up. The responsibility's on both of you. And that's one of those things where it's like people say it's a spectator sport. They just like to go see a fight, but it's a career. And Marco Madsen had to win the fight. Yeah, and he took the path that he knew would secure the victory. It's as frustrating and annoying to watch as it was.
It was really frustrating because they were having such a good fight up until that third round. It was a great back and forth fight, and I understand Vince Pichel being upset with it, but it's also like, your job is to get up off the ground or to find a way out of it, and he wasn't really making any advances. He was trying to tie him up pretty much to get a stand up. And I know Joe Rogan made a comment that he hates stand-ups in MMA, but I like them. I think they're okay because if there's nothing being done on the ground, then why are we there?
And here's one of my things though is Vince wasn't just sitting there either. Yeah. He was on his back and he was doing the damage.
Yeah.
If I remember right, Mark did not throw any strikes from the top.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that MMA should start considering in their judging is when a guy is on his back but he's doing the damage, he should be winning the control time.
That's how Boss Rutan won his championship in the UFC was because he was working off his back. And that's the downside of that too, was because, with the U.S., we don't really have a, unionized style of rulings. And so each state commission is different. And that's a big problem because, in Texas, like accidental gunshots can end in a disqualification or a no contest. But in Chicago and, in Illinois, accidental gunshot and you can't go back out there, it wins you the fight, So it's just like... So if you're ever fighting Chicago,
look into the correct area for it. Be in the right region.
Yeah.
And if you're not winning that fight, it's not going your way.
Yeah.
Hardest growing shot you've ever thrown in your life. And you're going to win.
Man. Go bowling. So, but yeah, man, it was a good fight though. I couldn't stop complimenting Vince Pichel's mustache also.
Yeah.
It was a pretty nice mustache. But
I'm a big fan of Vince Pichel. I really hope he comes back and gets on another winning streak.
Yeah.
Marco Madsen's just a fantastic wrestler. We all knew that.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, kudos to Vince for holding off the takedowns as well as he did that whole fight. I'd love to see him go in there again and maybe one to get matched up again with Marco Madsen. I think it'd be a fun fight if Marco Madsen can improve on his stand-up a little bit and not have to go to the takedown.
Yeah.
Which I love wrestling. I like takedowns. I like groundwork. I'm perfectly fine watching a guy sit there and just completely dominate off the top. But if you're not doing any work, if you're just sitting in someone's guard, you're not fighting.
Right.
You're chilling, and that's not cool.
It's not fun. Nobody likes that.
It's not cool, man.
So nobody's trying to cuddle. We're watching fighting. So
yeah.
Man, that was UFC 273. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on it. Let us know if you agreed with some of these decisions. Let us know your favorite parts of this as well. And so lately, we've been kind of switching up a little bit. We're doing a lot of interviews we've with some great people, Jeffrey Barrios, with Jordan Leeson, and with Hayden Bryars. And it's been a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. But this is something I've missed a lot, though, just sitting down and just talking MMA. So I'm happy to be back here after a great card and to get this out to y'all. So let us know your feedback as well, though. If you have anybody in the Houston area that you think would be fun to have on the show, we'd be more than happy to have them. So, yeah.
And shout out to War Training Center for going, I think, 3 for 3 today in the Fury Amateur Series. Tonio Figueiredo, who Hayden put us on, he got a win by decision. He looked really good the first 2 rounds. He dropped the guy several times. And then the third round, he showed off his wrestling. So it was really good showing. Expect him to go pro soon.
So